Right. Good morning, everybody. Thank you to those who are joining us early, and thank you to those who are joining us late, and everybody in between. It's great to have you all here. This is a slightly one-off webinar. We were very honoured a little while ago to welcome our very first Korean member. We've never had a Korean member before, though as I think there is at least one other person on the webinar who remembers. This is even before my time. I think there was an ITS UK mission to Korea many years ago, and maybe Professor Sampson might mention that later on if he does remember it, which he may not. As I say, even I wasn't around. So we have a new Korean member. They're Nota AI, and because obviously we will not have many opportunities to see them in person, especially while restrictions are still in place in most parts of the world. We thought we'd have a webinar to introduce them to everybody. They are interested in partnering and hooking up with other ITS UK members in the UK. So it's a good chance for them to showcase themselves and tell you a bit more about that. And because the topic is AI, we've also invited Transport for Greater Manchester here in the UK to give us a talk about what they're doing. So the theme is Korea, the theme is international cooperation, the theme is AI. Quite a few interesting things for the next hour for you. So I didn't say who I was. For those who don't know me, I'm Jenny Martin from ITS United Kingdom. And our first slot in the program, as you can see, is a couple of really important ITS UK people telling you about our international mission and roughly what it is and why it matters so much to us. So I still don't have Niosha Kayhani, I don't think. No?
He's coming. He's coming.
He's coming. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll start with Professor Eric Sampson from Newcastle University and several other jobs as well, who is our ambassador. So strong international content there, obviously, and who has worked internationally for decades now and is very well known and respected in the ITS sector throughout the world. Eric, please tell us about your take on the ITS UK international mission.
Thank you and good morning, everyone. We sometimes forget here that we're a small island off the coast of something a lot larger called Europe. And until some stupid decisions a little while ago, we were part of that bigger space called Europe, but we won't go there. I was involved in ITS UK since it was founded. And one of the reasons it was founded was that you get strength from association. You know, the old proverb about one stick is easily broken, but a bundle of sticks isn't. And that was why, one of the reasons why ITS UK was started in the first place, so that a lot of smallish organizations could speak with a louder voice because they were all represented through one or two front speakers. That's been the case as long as I can remember. I started doing my international work on behalf of the UK Transport Ministry within the European Union and going to negotiating meetings there. And it wasn't very long before what were European meetings became global. And I was trying to think back to my first real Korean contact, and I've come to the conclusion 1997, because we were there preparing for a World Congress in 1998. And then later on, we had another one in Busan. So I've got very strong memories of working with people in Korea. What do I do? My honorary title is the ITS UK ambassador. I don't get a nice uniform. I don't get a big car. I don't get any staff. My job is simply to speak for the association wherever they ask me to do it. And sometimes it's a request. Would I go to talk to somebody about something? And sometimes it goes backwards. People approach me and say, I gather you've got some sort of link association with ITS UK. We're very keen to talk to people about some topic or other. And so I can act as a distributor of information and maker of contacts. And it's something I enjoy doing. We had for a while an incredibly interactive and active international director called Richard Harris, who put in place a series of memoranda of understanding, by signing which we said to other countries, we're very happy to work with you in the following areas, and vice versa. And we've been very fond of that. It's a very strong part of our constitution and our structure. So my current work, certainly for the last few months and the next 15 days, is the upcoming ITS World Congress in Hamburg. The wretched pandemic has thinned out the numbers of delegates coming from the Asia Pacific region, but I'm still delighted to see that there will be a number there. There's a very old friend, Dr. Youngjun Moon. I think I first met him in 1994 at the Paris World Congress, possibly before that. So we realize in the UK that we are small. One of our top civil servants once said at ITS UK, it's like boxing, you hit above your weight, you hit very hard. And that's because we've got this consortium of people who all work together, but we are still small. It's clear looking at Germany, for example, numerically, they are 2.5 times the size of us, but we enjoy what we do. We enjoy our international negotiations and liaisons. That's why we're very pleased to see you this morning. Thank you, Jenny.
Thank you very much, Eric. Yes, we are small, but I think as we say in my native language of Swedish, liten men naggande god, which at least one person on the call knows means small but bitingly good, meaning that you bite away at the thing with little bites and you get there very, very successfully in the end. So thank you, Eric, for setting the scene for us. And we now have Nyosha Kayani, who is probably here at some ungodly hour by his standards, because he's based on the west coast of the US. Nyosha is our current international director on the Council of ITS UK. So what we're doing here today with our new Korean member is very much within his remit. So without further ado, Nyosha, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Jenny, and great introduction, Eric, as well. As Jenny said, I'm on the West Coast, so after this call, I'll have to call it a day. The day starts quite early here on the West Coast because people like to start surfing around 4 or 5 p.m. So they tend to start earlier in the morning. So as Jenny said, I'm the International Director for ITS UK. I'm also the Director of Innovation for Cubic Corporation. And an arm of Cubic Corporation is in automated fare collection systems, and we also look at traffic management as well, which I know is what you're looking at. So to quickly recap on the international mission of ITS UK, it's really to be intentional about cross-border alignment and collaboration. Partnerships like this allows us to capitalize on great solutions, AI obviously being a very hot topic. It has been for a long time. Now we're seeing more of it implemented in real life environments. We don't just want to partner with great solutions, but also dedicated people to build a stronger and more unified ITS network globally. And whilst ITS UK is based in the UK, as Jenny said, I live in the US and work with people from all over the globe to share knowledge, best practices, and lessons learned. So with Nota focusing on building AI models to make roads safer and more efficient, we have to reach, we have the reach and the partnerships to ensure the effective use of AI. As we know, it's more than just a technological challenge, but also a political and in many cases a socio-cultural one when it comes to people's behaviors. AI a lot of the time is driven from system level, but it also comes down to people level in many cases. So a partnership with ITS UK will allow you to get connected with the right type of policymakers, transport authorities, and system integrators, which are vital to getting your solution demonstrated in real life environments. So I look forward to this partnership and hopefully to be more part of the next session as well.
Thank you very much, Nyosha. And yeah, thank you for probably staying up to some ungodly hour that I'd be embarrassed if you told me what it was. We do appreciate your support. And what can I say, folks? The international director of ITS UK is the other side of the world to me. So isn't that fulfilling our international mission absolutely perfectly? So thank you, Nyosha. And I'll pick up on a little comment in the chat. I mean, please do use the chat to communicate with one another and put any questions in there that you'd like me to put to the presenters as well. You got both the chat and the Q&A open to you. We got a comment here from Nathaniel, who is based in Singapore, saying that he comes from a smaller geographical area than the UK. But I'd say Singapore is a brilliant example of what Eric talked about absolutely punching about your weight in every shape and form. So we've had our international mission ITS UK introductions, and I hope they've got you in the mood for our two topical presentations on AI. And of course, because we are polite, the British polite way is that the guest goes first. So Nota AI are our guests. And it's my great pleasure to hand over to Kyung Chu from Nota AI, who's going to tell us a bit about them. And we're doing okay for time, Kyung, so please feel free to take up to 15 minutes, and I'll give you a little warning when you get to 13 minutes. The floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for coming today, and hope all of you are staying safe and well. And it is such an honor for us to introduce us today, and thanks for giving us an opportunity to do so. And this is a brief overview of our company. So Nota was founded in 2015, and we do have more than 40+ global partners, including NVIDIA, Intel, Samsung, and etc. And we raised Series A funding, and it's such a unique case that we are funded from both Samsung and LG, which are in a rivalry relationship. And this is how our company is organized, and we're, as you can see, that we do have almost 3/4 of R&D parts, and which means that we're highly tech-oriented companies. So we do have offices in global, so we do have one office in Berlin, Germany, and we do have another one in the US, but it is solely no one is there due to pandemic. And here are some problems we're here to solve. So there are a number of challenges that most companies face when they're trying to implement AI applications. Their model needs to deliver accurate results, and at the same time, that it needs to be fast and works in real time, and it also needs to be connected to a network, and it must be affordable due to limited budgets, and it also needs to save the energy, and it needs to avoid privacy infringement according to GDPR. So these are the two main business services types we offer. So first, we can compress an AI model for the users who want to implement their own AI applications. Second is that we can develop an AI model and provide them to whoever has no expertise in AI applications. So first is on AI model compressions. So what Nota does excel at is a model compression. So we all know that as the model gets bigger, the performance gets better. However, so what we do is that we take such a huge model and compress it so small they can be deployed even on edge devices with low computing capabilities, which can save cost for hardwares and energies like electricities. And Nespresso is our own unique AI compression platform solutions, which automates the process of model compression so that it can give out the compact, lightweight model optimized for the given target hardware and the data set of the environment. So we adopt various compression technologies such as pruning, quantizations, knowledge distillation, and filter decompositions. And we do offer various options to users that they can select their own model among the outputs. For example, like if they want to prioritize the latency or the inference time, they can select the lighter model but with a little bit lower accuracy, or they can also choose one with the highest accuracy but with the with more time of inference time. And now moving on to our ITS systems. So we were introduced on GTC 21 this spring, and we are the only Korean company in NVIDIA Metropolis partnerships. So this is a case study that we've done in Pyeongtaek City of South Korea, and we adopted real-time traffic control based on the smart cameras with edge devices located on the site, and we could improve the traffic flow. And at the rush hours, we could decrease the average speed time by 30%. Average journey time, sorry, my mistake. So these are some solution features that we offer. So we do detect the vehicles and track them, and we get the statistics that could be utilized for strategic decisions to adopt lots of to improve the level of services of the roads, such as traffic counts and average speed of the given space, and etc. And we do also detect people, and we do also do parking space analysis, and we also do a prediction on the direction of the cars and pedestrians so that we can detect the cars or pedestrian to prevent the accident. And this is our competitive advantage over the other competitors in Korea, so that we are the only company that provides edge AI solution for ITES. So that as we are placing that device on site, so that we can guarantee a stable real-time operations with dual power device as the even a second matters in the safety. So these are some specifications of our solutions. So as you can see, there are we can do both servers and edge devices. And here are some FPS based on each device with the accuracy of more than 90%. And this is the result that we got from the Pyeongtaek City case. And as you can see, we reduced average journey time in congested condition by 30%, and the MAP accuracy was about 97%. We could reduce the original model by more than 95%. And we also improved the model speed by doing that from 70 FPS to 30 FPS, which means that we could digest multi-number channels on one single devices. And this is some benchmark that we adopted cloud case. This was done on the Microsoft Azure, and as you can see, after the compression, the number of channels increased while the cost is same. Or we could employ a cheaper device while digesting more number of channels but faster inference time, and we save cost more than about 85% by doing so. And here are some demo videos that we have. So these are the real videos that in Pyeongtaek City we implemented. And this 6 number of cameras are inferencing in one device at the same time. And this is a comparison between, on the same day of week, we compared between how we resolved the traffic congestion before our solution and after our solution. That you can see that even on the green lights, cars were not able to pass through because there's a huge queue stacked in the consecutive intersections. And this is demo video for A's abnormality decision. So you might have hard time understanding all these Koreans, but these are the vehicle counting. And this is a manipulate video, so this is not real. So you can see that when you can see the speed of the cars, and when there's a danger of the crash between pedestrian's car, we give some alarm that there's a higher chance so that the monitoring person could pay attention to it. And you can see that when they're jaywalking, the color of the box changes. And when there's no car coming, there's no alarm given. So that it will not disrupt the monitoring person. And this is our solution case installed in San Diego, US. So it detects people, it detects cars, and analyzes the parking spaces whether how many spaces are vacant and occupied. And you can see that the color changes as soon as the car leaves this space. So this is all we got for today. And please feel free to ask questions. I just want to make sure that my presentation ends in 10 minutes. So
No, that's as a chairperson, these are the speakers that you really love, the ones who don't just keep the time, they actually undershoot the time. That's fantastic. Thank you very much, Soo-kyung. And I think some very impressive work there, and very, very interesting. What I would invite you to add, use a couple of minutes if you don't mind, is to explain to us what is it that you're hoping for from your association with ITS UK. What is it you want from ITS UK and its members? What can we do for you?
So I think what you want the most is that first is the branding, because as you can see, we're experts in AI, but we do not have many experts in traffic. So we do have some experts that we collaborate with one of the biggest university in Korea, and we do have PhD students in our company who majored in traffic, but we do not have much experience like Cubic or ITS UK or any other companies that has been in this industry. So we just want to learn more about ITS, and we want to tell that we do have an abilities to do so. And the second one is that we hope that if ITS UK could connect us and introduce to other companies, so networking basically. And that's what you're offering to us even today. So we're very satisfied. Part of it. Yeah. Please go ahead. Sorry.
No, that's fine. It's awkward on the link. No, that's great. So people on the call, you heard what Soo-kyung said. They are actively seeking contacts, input, offers of partnership, offers of just about anything would be welcome, I think, as long as it's ITS and traffic related. So please get in touch and do it via ITS UK if you can't find Nota AI online or on LinkedIn. This is what we're here for. It's to make the connections. So audience, do we have, yes, I think I have a question in the Q&A. Yeah, question from Nathaniel. So Nathaniel says, have there been instances where objects or people were misidentified as something else? And also, how does your solution stand out from other video analytics solutions, which also come with the boxes used to identify objects and people? So Nathaniel, would you like to answer that, please? Sorry, Soo-kyung, would you like to answer that, please?
Absolutely. So the first one, answering to the first question, yes, there's a case that there might be a misidentification. However, that only happens when if the object is way too far from the camera, so that even in a case, even when a human cannot tell if it is a person or not, or in case it is highly occluded, so that we cannot detect it if it is there or not. But if we have enough data and good enough camera that can tell, even human can tell if this personal car, we have very high accuracy, as you saw. It is more than at least 90%, and we can guarantee more than 95% if we have enough data. And to the second question, to the second question, so our advantage is that we do have lightweight model, which means that we can digest a way more number of channels of videos with the same hardware. It can be even an edge device, not a very expensive GPUs. And we don't have to replace the cameras. We can use the existing cameras. What we all need to do is that we only need to bring one edge device to that own site and connect the device to the cameras, that we can just simply analyze the videos coming in. And should I keep answering to the other questions? Question from others?
Yeah, great. Of course, I forget you can see this. The audience can't see it, but you and I can both see it. Yeah, well, for the benefit of the audience who can't see the Q&A, we do have a question from Daniel Johns of Vaisala, another very international ITSUK members, and he's asking how the active traffic management is conducted. Is this also edge, or is it part in the cloud? He'd like some more details. Over to you.
Absolutely. For the case we introduced, we adopted edge devices. However, it could be done on both edge and cloud. So our ultimate goal is to do on cloud, because we need to calculate the time for the whole network, which should include more than hundreds of intersections, which would be a lot to do in the edge devices. But in this case, we only control the 3 consecutive intersections, which was not that many numbers of intersections. So we've done in edge. Did I answer your questions?
Yeah, I think that's great. Thank you very much. What I'll do now is I'll move on, in the interest of time, I'll move on to David Watts and Transport for Greater Manchester. As you can see, Soo-Kyung, you have a question there from Kelvin about potential of other partnerships, not in the UK. Maybe you could answer that in writing while we carry on, and that way we'll be up to date.
So
Great.
yes, we are based in Korea, and we do have one office in Berlin, Germany, and we are absolutely looking for projects or partnerships outside of UK too. So we do not we are not only interested in Korea but UK, but also in US and Europe and any other areas, any other regions from the world. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you very much. So now we move back to the UK, to Manchester. Transport for Greater Manchester is of course, a member of ITSUK, a very active one. They do some very interesting work up there. They have trams. I like anywhere that had trams. They get bonus points from me for trams, definitely. And we've got David Watts to tell us about their AI-related work. So David, hopefully you're able to screen share.
Yes, I'll just get the slides up now. Thanks, Jenny. So yeah, thanks again for giving us the opportunity to speak here today. I don't plan on speaking for too long, but hopefully in the next few slides, I can provide a bit of context and background to our general operation here in urban traffic control / intelligent transport systems team at TFGM, as well as talking about how we've collaborated with our project partner Vivacity Labs over the last couple of years, going through an AI projects application here in Greater Manchester. Just quickly, I'm David Watts, and I've worked in the ITS team for nearly 7 years, and I've worked with different types of roadside data collection, as well as managing other highway assets such as traffic signals, variable message signs, CCTV. And during the last 3 years or so, I've been managing the Smart Junctions project from our side, working with our project partners, Vivacity, to help make use of their AI technology at traffic signals. So hopefully about to share some useful info about the project and how ultimately we hope the work will kind of empower and equip transport bodies, as well as improving the experience for all road users. So I'll just quickly run through our current operation in ITS at TFGM. We've got quite a big, substantial network to look after, about 2,500 traffic signals or so. It's across a vastly changing and developing region, particularly around the area that we call the regional centre, which is essentially the centre of Manchester. Like many other authorities around the UK, we've got a varied network of existing adaptive signal technologies using the well-established modes of operation, such as scoot and mover where appropriate. It should be said that for the most part that these have clear benefits, and it's shown that over the years, particularly in terms of reducing vehicle delay where implemented. And to assist operation and to support our interventions where required, we've got quite a large network of CCTV across major junctions and busy corridors, though there are still some blind spots as well, which can be a challenge. We do make use of other data collection as well, using more traditional monitoring systems such as automatic traffic counters, cycle counters, Bluetooth journey time sensors, and we also make use of some newer data sources as well, such as Waze and anonymized telecoms data as well. Just touching back on the adaptive signal control systems that I mentioned, most in the industry will be aware that establishing, operating and maintaining these adaptive systems can be quite costly and time consuming to set up. And this can be amplified as well if you're working in a vastly changing developing region such as Manchester. So just moving on to the Smart Junctions project itself, then I'd just like to give a bit of background about our project partner, Vivacity Labs, who we've worked with on it. Some of you might be aware of them already, but they were essentially a technology startup that started around 5 years ago, specialising in their AI-driven video analytics sensing technology, where they made use of machine learning to enable their sensors to detect different road users across different modes using quite a detailed breakdown of vehicle classes as well. And it was their sensors are particularly useful for the monitoring of cyclists and pedestrians, where understanding the numbers and behaviours of these are, of course, increasingly important for helping people move around urban areas. That's why it was interesting looking at Nota AI and their features, because some of them look quite similar, to be honest. I don't have any demo footage to show, but as I say, it'd be quite interesting to compare how they perform against each other. Vivacity actually sought to leverage this AI technology to the world of traffic signal control, where about 3 years ago they chose to work with ourselves in Greater Manchester, where we provided a test bed to kind of help develop and test this technology that allows the AI to control traffic signal timings at key junctions and crossings. So through the project, we've been able to share our approach, more traditional approaches to network management across the region, and also provide additional insight into the general hardware setup of our traffic signals and how they perform. We've, of course, also been blessed with the opportunity of sharing how some of the monitoring of the network has changed in the age of COVID-19 as well. We've also collaborated with them on the build of the overall system, including input into the general architecture and user interface. We feel that they've taken into account our thoughts on multiple aspects of this and believe it's translated well into early versions of the system that we've seen as well. So let's have a look at the actual study area for the project, and you can see where we've targeted the installation of the sensors themselves, which is about 150, 200 or so, as well as the deployment of the technology in the roadside cabinets. As you can see here, we selected junctions on and around the ring road of the regional centre, allowing for control of a mixture of sites, some with particular high traffic flow, some with high pedestrian numbers, some with both, where this would allow us to really push and test the technology. The circles actually represent where the Vivacity equipment is installed, and where I've added the yellow circles is where the majority of the deployments of the AI have been targeted, including a degree of coordinated control as well. Though this being said, most of the control has taken place on junctions in isolation. So on the slide here, I've got the junction where we've had the AI operating on the most. It's quite a busy site, being on the ring road of the city, outside a main arena, and at the end of a busy corridor into the centre, coming down from the prison there. I'll start by saying that no major issues were observed throughout the deployments, and on the whole, performance of the agent was good. And I know Vivacity have actually looked to quantify the benefit at this stage, but we feel perhaps it needs to be a little bit more comparison made for this to be a truly reflective figure. But we can say that we observed the AI agent taking rational, logical decisions, serving different stages where appropriate, including taking into account pedestrian demand, whilst also balancing this with heavy traffic volumes as well. We expected this to some extent with Vivacity having trained the AI in simulation prior to deployment. I think there was one occasion where we revoked Vivacity control of the junction and where performance was noticeably suboptimal, though this was quite a while ago, and I think the result of a couple of damaged or faulty sensors, and we've not really experienced anything since. One of the most noticeable differences to previous control means, such as Scoot, is a lack of a fixed stage order. Now, some authorities in the UK generally don't like to adopt that approach, but we found that having the flexibility within the AI allowed for much more adaptability of the changing conditions that are often found at highly saturated urban junctions such as this. It's not to say the system isn't without its challenges. For instance, we've noticed that the AI agent can take some time to be trained in simulation prior to being deployed, and also that the system requires quite a lot of additional hardware, such as the number of sensors and the equipment in the cabinet to be installed to operate. Though the team at Vivacity are aware of these challenges and are actively working to kind of improve that. So with this being said, we have seen a number of other significant benefits over the last 3 years of the project as well, particularly in terms of the rich granularity of the data we've had access to as a result of having all these sensors out on the network. I often allude to this in other presentations that I've given, but I think it really can't be understated how much of an insight that this type of data can provide. We've been able to understand the impact of the various levels of restrictions implemented over the course of the pandemic, helping us assess the impact on the transport network, retail, and various other services. We can also use this to help plan for events, using examples and scenarios such as protests and football matches to assist in future network planning as well. The graph on the screen actually shows pedestrian activity in the city centre over the last few months, shown against various policy changes over the course of the pandemic. I think this is where the project has been particularly valuable and where the added value of an AI smart junction system such as this has really shown through. Added features such as the ability to use ANPR functionality to understand journey times can of course be very useful. If you add this to being able to use path tracing to understand pedestrian desire lines and potential conflict points, as well as speed data, it really shows how much of a well-rounded data product the hardware is. So if I can just summarize our kind of thoughts on this AI project so far, having collaborated with Vivacity Labs for over 3 years now. We're comfortable with how the system performs, probably best demonstrated by our willingness to let the AI run without always being monitored. We're actually still keen to further test performance of the system, particularly across areas with high pedestrian volumes, where we feel that maybe this could be a bit of a game changer. Like other traffic control systems, it's dependent on the installation and maintenance of quite a bit of hardware on street, as we've seen through the vast rollout of the sensors. Though I must say, fault failure rate has been pretty rare. The levels of data that the system can provide are unparalleled, or at least as far as we've seen. That's not to say something else might not come along in future. And though we're keen for the system to continue to run, there probably needs to be some refining of the overall product, which I'm sure Vivacity will tell you that as well. This being said, I think it's worth recognising how much has been achieved in a relatively short amount of time, and how the guys at Vivacity have worked with us to kind of move things forward with their technology and approach, and we're kind of still excited to see where things go from here. And that's about it. So yeah, thank you very much.
Great, thank you very much. And another speaker being perfectly to time. I'm doing very well this morning. I'm very lucky. I think that was really fascinating, and I think as someone who's been around for a while, as has a few other people who are here this morning, I think it's fascinating. I mean, when I first came into ITS, which was in the mid 1990s, some form of what we thought at the time, intelligent adaptive signal control was already quite normal. Scoot was already there. I don't remember a time pre-Scoot. But what we're finding now, I think, and both the speakers today have given us really good examples of it, is that it's only as your systems are only as good as your assumptions, and in many cases, up until now, the assumptions have had to be really crude. And now with the much better, more data, more granular data, more accurate data, easier access to it, it's amazing what we're finding out. I mean, I'm putting in, I don't know if there's anyone here from Transport for London, but I'm putting in mind of some work they did 2 or 3 years ago now, probably, which was where they decided that they probably didn't have as accurate origin data as they thought they had, when they were doing origin destination. And they were keen to find out if it was good or bad and improve it if it needed to be, so that they could message to the right people in the right areas when things were wrong downstream on their intended journeys. And they found that their assumptions of where people were coming from were completely wrong. And that's, then they'd operated wrongly for many years, not through any fault of their own, just that there wasn't the capacity. And also the sort of forced assumption that the trip origins are the same at 9 o'clock in the morning as they are at 6 o'clock in the evening, which of course they won't be, because the people coming to work in central London, why would you assume that the people who come to go to the theatre, who are the 6 o'clock crowd, why would they come from the same areas? And it turned out, no, they didn't. So, yeah, I'm coming to the end of my working life, and I think I'll be leaving ITS at a very, very interesting time. So we have a question here from Korea, from Haejin Lee, for David. He's saying, if you do not mind, I'm sure you don't mind, David, can you elaborate more on AI traffic signal control based on reinforcement learning? And he's also asking for other sources of that information, but we'll start with you as a source of information.
Yeah, I mean, that's I guess that's part of the fun, being a local authority working with AI. Admittedly, I don't know loads about artificial intelligence, and we often have this discussion with our project partner, Vivacity, on how the AI is somewhat of, or it can be a bit of a black box, in that we don't always know what it's doing, or what it's planning next. And though there are some restrictions that we do place within the traffic controller for this specific project, that it can't kind of veer out of into greens. It won't go so many seconds without serving a certain stage, as a bit of a fail-safe backup in there. But I do actually have some resources that I can share that kind of go into a bit more detail on the reinforcement learning approach. That's what kind of I touched on in the presentation, in that the guys at Vivacity do quite an extensive training regime for the AI agent. That's what I was kind of saying, that part takes a certain amount of time to get right before it's kind of deployed on street, and they can kind of study the behavior of the agent in simulation before it actually goes out on street. which is useful for us as well, because then it gives us some degree of confidence that what's going out on the street will be okay. Which, you know, we found it has been. But yeah, I'll if I can get the relevant contact information, I can certainly share some resources I've got on that as well.
Yeah, thank you, David. I've made a note. I may have some papers from conferences and congresses I go to on that I probably shouldn't share, but I will share. So, and yeah, other people on the call, if you have vast libraries because you've been attending the World Congress for many years, then anything you can fish out on training traffic signals with AI for Heijin would be really good. So thank you. Now, Nathaniel has asked me a question. That doesn't usually happen, but I'm flattered. He's wanting to know if, being a bit of an old timer, when I first came into ITS in the mid-90s, did I think that the things that were in the pipeline felt like science fiction, and how many of those ideas were fulfilled, and did any crash and burn? Now, my answer to that is that my experience is that that's not how ITS works. It's been really, really gradual. I did my master's while I actually worked for ITS UK. I did it at a brilliant UK institution called the Open University, which is for people who work, but who want to do academic study at the same time. And I wrote it on the introduction of CCTV into traffic management in London. So I picked the degree was actually in the master's was in history, but I picked an ITS topic because of where I was working. And that, I think, the research I did illustrates my point, which is that it's really gradual. The first use of CCTV in London, I have a feeling it was in the UK, but I'll say London, was in the very late 70s or early 80s. It's a long time ago now. And it was a camera monitoring one, it's a damaged bridge. So where normally there would have been 2 lanes of traffic through the bridge, they could only do one at a time. So there were traffic lights to control this. And police had been standing there to operate the traffic lights. So, make a visual observation, see what was happening with the traffic, and adjust the lights accordingly. And some bright spark had the idea that we don't have to stand out here in the rain under this bridge. We can actually do it from the comfort of our base. So they rigged up the camera, and that was one of the very first ITS implementations in the UK. And then the meat of my thesis was then, and this is also illustrative, the meat of my thesis was the massive arguments between the Transport Authority in London and the Metropolitan Police in London about who was to be in charge of this. Once they had the idea, they started to have a massive argument about it. I read so many cross meeting, the minutes of so many angry meetings where they trashed it out. So this is also quite important for the development of ITS. But it's been gradual ever since. When I first came into this, and Scoot was running in London, and I had that explained to me by something called the TSUG or something. Anyway, some of you will remember that, the unit in London that ran that at the time. That seemed like science fiction to me, but it wasn't. It was already running, and gradually it got better and better and better. And I think we've had an aberration recently, which is the whole thing about autonomous vehicles. There were people, but I don't think that they were the engineers and the technically qualified and knowledgeable people. I think these were other people who were hyping that, like, oh, we were actually going to have a revolution, but we haven't. We've had a very gradual development of advanced driver assistance systems for safety, for comfort, for even some for in-car systems for entertainment. It's a slow process. Who knows which way it'll go, but nothing will really crash and burn. It doesn't work that way in ITS, and there won't be any scientific, any science fiction revolution either. So yeah, that's my answer. Maybe I should write my memoirs. So here we are, Richard Dolphins. Yeah, TCSU, of course, yes. I think his name was Ken, the man who ran it. I can see him in front of me. I'm sure Richard would now remind me what his name actually was. So that's why this is such an exciting area to work in, because there's always something interesting going on, but it's not, it never is science fiction. It's always built on good science and good engineering and properly developed. That's why it's so nice to work in this sector. So that's definitely enough from me. I got carried away there because I'm never normally asked any questions. Do we have any more questions for David or Soo-kyung? And do you have any other observations? We have the ability of allowing you to speak if you would like to speak, if you don't currently have the ability to speak.
Do you mind letting
Go on.
do you mind let Hejin be a panelist? I think she should have something to speak here.
Right, I am unmuting people. Please speak if you wish.
Yeah, she can speak.
Hi, thanks for the opening my speaker. So I'm just sharing our main LinkedIn profile and also other links for our ITS demo videos on YouTube. So I think it will be better for better understanding for all of you here, and maybe better to be connected afterwards and also in ITS World Congress. Maybe that's everything from my side. Thank you.
So are you going to be at the World Congress?
Yes, of course, we will be at the startup booth in Hall B3, and there will be also startup pitching. So it will be great to see you there.
Oh, that's great. We'll make sure we tell all the ITS UK members that they should come and see you there. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Oh, great. Yeah, we will share the slides with the permission of the speakers, but we will also edit the chat. We'll take the jokes out of the chat, but we'll leave the serious things in. And so the links that you've just been given, you'll have a permanent record of them as well. And if there's somebody on the call that you want to speak to or be put in touch with, be formally introduced, depending on which part of the world you come from, that may be more or less important to you, then just get in touch with Rukshan or myself and we'll put you in touch. Now, Eric would like to come in. Eric, please, the floor is yours.
Well, Congress, I'm probably going to the Tower of London for this, but the DFT minister, Trudy Harrison, the new minister, is attending and is planning to have an exhibition tour. Anthony Ferguson, I think, and Graham Hanson are supervising that, but there's an opportunity to whistle her round as many of the UK representatives as possible. And although it may seem slightly odd to some, our Korean colleagues.
That's great, Eric. Yeah, we'll need to compile a list for the three of them, really, of all the ITS UK members. And
sorry, and Sarah Sharples, the new Chief Scientific Advisor, is also attending.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Girl power, Jenny, you know that.
That's, as some of you know, I've devoted, I wish to say I'd started in the mid-90s, but I didn't. But about 10 years ago, I decided to throw myself into the ring as far as diversity in the UK ITS workforce is concerned. And yes, it's great to see that women are more and more evident and in more and more senior positions. If you look at our early careers forum, which does what it says on the tin, the people who participate in that are probably 50-50 male-female, which if you'd seen the ITS sector in the mid-90s, you would never have believed that would ever happen. But I am aware that's different in different countries. So do we have any more questions for either of our panelists? That's good, because we only have 3 minutes to go, and I'm sure some of you have another meeting on the hour, which is I don't, lucky for me. So thank you ever so much. Thank you, Nyosha and Eric. Thank you, Soo-kyung and David. Thank you for everybody who attended and asked questions and put useful things in the chat and put jokes in the chat. That's also good. ITS UK is a friendly environment. Please follow up anything at all that you want to know or share or whatever as a result of what you've heard this morning. Just contact Rukshan or me. That's what we're here for. Knowledge Advocacy Connections, as our strapline says, so connections. Have a lovely day if you're in the UK. Sleep well if you're on the west coast of America. Koreans, I suppose I should wish you a nice evening, probably. I hope you have a nice dinner, a restful evening. And I hope to see all of you very soon. Take care, and thank you for your support.